Hi, this is Jackie from ESLspeaking.org. So today I'm going to talk about how to teach ESL children new words. So basically teaching English vocabulary to people who are ESL or EFL learners. So there's a few different methods. First of all, with kids, I like to have a picture or the real object, if possible. And then I say the word, I spell the word, I get them to look at the picture, look at the word, repeat after me. You can also do a translation into the original language, but that is a little bit fraught with some complication because there's sometimes multiple translations, and I don't necessarily want my students to just always think automatically of translating everything from English into their first language. So it's often better if you're teaching students like classroom objects, pen, pencil, paper, to actually have pen, pencil, paper. So they're kind of learning English through English without having to translate into Korean or Mandarin or whatever language they speak. The next thing, once you teach them the basic words and the spelling, and they've said them a few times, you need to do some practice. So there are a ton of ways you can get students practicing. I love using flashcards. There's a ton of games and activities you can use with flashcards. As simple as showing the flashcard and the student says the word or they make a sentence with that word. Sometimes I like to hide them around the classroom and I say, go find the ball, and then they have to get the ball and hold it up and say ball. Or I touch the object and then they have to pick up the card and then say the word. So there's a lot of different things you can do with that. The next one I like to do is concentration. So this is a really fun game that kids love. So I put the spelling of the word ball, B-A-L-L, and then a picture of the ball on the other card. And I make up about 8 sets, so 16 cards total. I shuffle the cards, I place them face down in the desk on kind of in an organized fashion. And then the first student has to take 2 cards. If it's a match, ball and ball, they keep it. If it's not a match, they put it back in the same spot and then the next student goes. So it basically becomes a memory game. Next one is charades. So this is perfect if you're talking about, like, say, verbs, especially like playing soccer, eating pizza, doing homework, things like that. So getting students to act it out and then the other students in the class have to guess what they're doing. All right, my next tip is review. So it takes about 20 or 30, 50, 100 times for people to actually know a word in a second language. So they have to be exposed to it that many times before it becomes just automatic in their brain, such that they're never going to forget. So you can really help your students out with this process by reviewing frequently in class. So I love to start each new class with a review of what I taught in the previous class. I love to have monthly review sessions. I review before the midterm exam, before the final exam. I'm always reviewing all these new words that I teach my students. One thing you can try doing, depending on where you're teaching, is a vocabulary test. So, I sometimes love it and sometimes don't love it, depending on the situation. However, nothing actually gets people to remember words as much as a test will, I find. So if you give students a vocabulary list of, say, 20 or 30 words and say there is going to be a test on this next class, you have to memorize these words and how to spell them. And then they come to class, and I find that most students actually will have remembered those words. As far as how much actual learning happens in the long term as a result of vocabulary tests, I'm not entirely sure, but that's where review comes in. So if you give a test, that's great, but then keep reviewing those words. All right, so if you like these tips for how to teach children new words in a second language, please check out my book, 39 ESL Vocabulary Activities for Kids. You can find it easily on Amazon. All right, if you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments below your favorite activity for teaching children new words. All right, until next time, bye everybody.